again, thank you UC Davis for the food, and I just wanted to go over quickly the agenda so everyone's clear on it. You should each have an agenda at your seat. Does anyone not have an agenda? If not, feel free to grab one from the next seat over. I know that's not very neighborly, but I have information, right? So after this brief introduction, we'll go right into Bob Segar's presentation. Bob is with UC Davis, he's the project manager for Aggie Square. And he's going to provide basically a progress report on what's been done at Aggie Square, and as well as some next steps. Then we're going to hear from the city of Sacramento, Kriztina Palone, about some of the workforce development efforts that they've been working on as it relates to Aggie Square and other sort of workforce development jobs initiatives. Then we're going to open it up. We're going to have questions from you guys. And the way that's going to work is there will be folks running around, maybe walking around with slips of paper. We'll be handing out pens. And if you'd like your question asked, just deliver that slip of paper to one of the people walking around, and they will read it out loud. Make sure to direct your question out to the panelists. It just makes it easier for people to know if they're being asked a specific question. And of course, we have Councilmember Schenirer, District 5. On the panel, Councilmember Guerra, who I've not yet seen, but he'll be arriving. Also on the panel, as well as Bob and Gabby Trejo with Sacramento Investment Intelligence Placement. And you'll hear more from her about that. Lastly, we'll talk about next steps and hopefully get you guys plugged into some of your local neighborhood associations if you're not already. Lastly, OPNA, the Oak Park Neighborhood Association, does have to break the way to do our board elections. This is something that's in our bylaws. We have to do it. We had our February meeting. Might be a little awkward to see some of the Oak Park folks heading out to do that, but it has to be done. And you guys are free, as soon as that happens, to go mingle with the panelists, ask further questions or want answers, and go from there. If you'd like, if one of your questions does not get answered, you wrote it on a slip of paper, we will take on the responsibility of making sure that that question is put in a spreadsheet and sent over to the person's direction. So hopefully we'll end up with a big spreadsheet containing questions in one column and answers in the next. Publish that, put it on our websites, and have that information. So thanks again for coming, and want to bring up Bob. I'll pull up his presentation now, who will be talking at Aggie Square. All right. Yeah.
Thank you, Adrian. So my name is Bob Segar, celebrity name. But thank you all for being here tonight and giving us an opportunity to update you on the Aggie Square project and with our colleagues from the city to bring you up to date on some of the progress that we made and get your ideas and aspirations and concerns about the project as we move forward. So thanks again. I know it's evenings are precious, so appreciate you taking the time to be here. I've just got maybe 10 or 12 slides that I'll go through, and I know there are some folks have been with this process, our planning process from the beginning. It really started a year ago, April, so it's been about 20 months or something we've been in the planning process. I'll put up a timeline so you can see where we've been and with the future dates that we anticipate. You can see the length of the planning period. Some of you will have seen, I've got some slides in the beginning. Oh, that's great. Some slides in the beginning, for those of you who are new to the project, just kind of give you the scope. But then I have to beg the patience of folks who've been with it from the beginning, because we've seen these slides about a couple dozen times, so forgive me for that. But the first two slides will just set the context for what the project is. And then I've got a few more to just share, some of the concerns and aspirations that came up when we met here in a lot of our community outreach meetings that we've been doing so far, and some of the progress that we're making, and then we can talk about progress we can still make together in the future. So thanks again for being here. This is just after start with the goal slide, and this is Chancellor May for UC Davis. He's been at the campus now just a little over 2 years, almost 2.5 years, and has really struck this partnership with Mayor Steinberg in launching the Aggie Square project. And these 4 goals, they might seem kind of fundamental, but it's really important for us to keep those goals in front of us the whole time and to measure our success by these goals. So the first one, obviously, is about UC Davis growing its programs, and it says innovation across the whole UC Davis enterprise. So the teaching and research and public service mission of UC Davis really needs to benefit and grow from partnerships. And Aggie Square, as I'll explain to you, is different than the way we typically build a campus. We typically build a campus with classrooms and academic buildings, student unions and stuff like that. This is a campus, and I'll show you in a second, to co-locate business partners, community-based partners, educational partners, so that the work can be collaborative and can be expanded beyond what we can do ourselves or what any one other entity can do themselves. So that's the first one. The second one is really, in a way, those number 2 and 3 really combine to the city's goal for inclusive economic development. That both creates new jobs, but that also benefits people in our neighborhoods and local communities. And then the fourth one is kind of a how-to goal to just make sure we plan and design it well. On Stockton Boulevard, we've got big buildings, big parking structures, and hospital buildings, and we really want to create public spaces at Aggie Square that invite people onto the campus and give them a reason to be there other than to go to the hospital, so that they can participate in some of the activities and benefits that the project brings. So that's where it's located. So Stockton Boulevard, running up and down on the left-hand side, the hospitals, so that colored footprint is the whole Sacramento campus of the UC Davis Health. About 150 acres. The gold part, and the lower part of Stockton where it bends on the Broadway, that's the Aggie Square footprint. And the part that we're really working on that I'm talking about tonight is the phase 1 part, which is at the intersection of 2nd Avenue and Stockton, kind of one big block south. It's about 8 acres. So that's phase 1 of Aggie Square. So I mentioned it's about co-location and partnership. This is just a diagram that says it's not just UC Davis activities, but it's our programs, a lot of our UC Davis research programs that are generating investment in Sacramento. And again, the mayor and the chancellor from the beginning, how can UC Davis's activity be leveraged to diversify economic development in Sacramento and take full advantage of it? That's really what the project's about. And so this is just a diagram of a building that says, our buildings will house not just us, but other businesses, startups, other community-based organizations as it makes sense. There'll be training centers, not just the UC Davis educational part, but with other partners on workforce development, the kind of thing that Kriztina is going to talk about in her presentation. I won't go too much into this, but this just says we know we need to do a lot of listening early, but also throughout the whole process. So we'll be doing a lot of meetings like this, both on and off campus with different neighborhoods, different community groups, and trying to get an inventory of what community visioning communities have already done, and also to look nationally at best practices for medical centers and universities that are in urban settings like this. How have they interacted with their communities, and what kind of programs should we be looking at there as well? So after the initial planning phases and kind of listening to her, we've identified a set of initial themes for Aggie Square. We see a lot of life sciences, that a lot of it's medical related, as well as technology and engineering, that those are real strengths of UC Davis, both at Sacramento at the Medical Center and at the Davis campus. That research is the kind of thing that can be leveraged for further investment for Sacramento. We've got a project I'll show you that we're calling our lifelong learning building. Lifelong learning at the campus historically has meant our continuing and professional education, which is kind of post-degree, but we're looking to this building to actually host really youth development all the way to kind of post-degree development, so that people have an entry level and can see themselves in the education and training no matter where it is on that pipeline. There'll be a housing project. There'll be new public space that I mentioned on Stockton Boulevard. It's going to be themed around food and health. We'll talk more about that. We want to do new mobility and parking as well as we can. There are lots of questions and there are opportunities, but lots of concerns also about traffic and safety and access to the campus with this road. And then to be as sustainable as we can with the way we do it with regard to energy and water and a lot of things that we work on really hard at the campus. So that's what the phase one of the project looks like. It's on your flyer. The blue buildings are the life sciences buildings. So again, this is where it's located. That's the intersection of 2nd Avenue and Stockton, and it's kind of one block to what is 45th Street on the side of the campus. And we're showing this, that's the public space I was talking about, where we're trying to open up the campus, have a public space that's all about food systems and food access, and providing people with healthy food in many different ways, both educationally as well as access. And then the two blue buildings are the lab buildings with life sciences and engineering. The reddish building is an office and classroom building. That's the lifelong learning building. The green building is going to have some housing, and the first floor is going to be dedicated to community serving uses around food and health.
Where's Broadway?
So Broadway is just off of, right down here. So Stockton comes down. This would be like 3rd and 4th, and then Broadway. So this is just a general timeline. So again, some of you are probably engaging for the first time. Some of you have been with us the whole time. So I mentioned that we announced, Chancellor and Mayor announced in April of 18 that we were going to start the planning. So that we've been doing that for just over a year and a half, and we're right there. We have selected a developer to invest in the project. I want to tell you more about that. And then the potential opening, and anything can happen, but if things move in a straight line, we might break ground about a year and a half from now. And then it's buildings like this typically a year and a half or 2 years. So it would be, a good 3 years plus from now before we actually open. So it is still relatively early in the planning process. We've made a lot of progress, but there's a lot to figure out. So we really do welcome your thoughts and ideas now and throughout. That's just some information about some of the outreach we've been doing. Overall, that 55 plus meetings, that's both in the community and on campus, and with groups that have invited us to talk. So please let us know if there are other places that where people would like to find out about Aggie Square. And so we'll post some of this on our website. But just to say, we're partway through the process and trying to work hard to take on engaging people on it. But we have a long way to go. This is a visual graphic that we did at an early meeting. There are two committees that the Chancellor and the Mayor appointed. One of them is called a Partnership Advisory Meeting that has a lot of elected officials and community representatives. And then there's a second one called this Community Engagement Advisory Committee, where like heads of the different neighborhood associations are on it, and of different neighborhood community groups. And I had a graphic note taker at this meeting and recorded a lot of these, both aspirations but also concerns. And so I want to use that to try to give you an update on some of the progress. So Kriztina is going to talk more about this on the jobs and workforce development side, but some of the things that have begun to take shape. So as far as UC Davis activities and jobs that we see showing up at Aggie Square, I mentioned our continuing professional education part. And again, that's not the degree part of the university. That's sort of the on-demand part of the university where you can get a certificate or training in keeping current in a job. So the university has a big enterprise like that. They're going to be located in Aggie Square. There's a second group called Public Scholarship and Engagement. That's a new group. There are lots of our faculty, just like at Sac State, that do a lot of work in the community. And so this is a hub for all of our faculty that do work in the Sacramento community, whether it's around social equity, around transportation, around planning, whatever it is, that will have a place for them to work from, to try to expand their impact in the community. The School of Medicine is going to have a whole series of centers, a lot of which are public-facing, community-facing around, I see Segar here, around health disparities. We think groups like that are going to be located in Aggie Square, along with other public-facing groups at the School of Medicine. School of Education is going to do some work. Again, so this building is really about the community-facing work at UC Davis and how we engage with you all in our larger Sacramento community. And then there'll be new research labs, like I mentioned as well. So a lot of those are, if there are existing groups at UC Davis, there'll be new jobs associated with those and expanded activity. And then we're starting to attract some pretty significant interest from the business community to co-locate and invest 30,000 square feet in that big building that's being reserved for information technology companies who expressed an interest in co-locating with UC Davis. And then again, to Kristina's presentation, it's not just about the UC Davis connection, but it's about how can we partner with the right community groups and entities and programs, the city and schools and others, community college, to partner on the pipeline so that the entry-level jobs, the technical jobs, that we can prepare folks as well. 1 minute, oh my gosh. Okay, I'll tell you what. I'll just show you what's in here, and then we can talk more as you have questions. And I won't have time to really go through it. So there's been progress on the workforce partnerships. They're under construction, what we're moving. Then there were issues about housing that were raised. We'll talk more about that. There is going to be a housing project on the site, but it's mostly for students. Although now that we've hired the developer, they do want to talk to us about possibly expanding the unit count and opening that up, so we'll talk about that. And then the city, I know both Jay and Eric are going to talk about the growing energy around the Housing Trust Fund and other programs that are growing, and the work along Stockton Boulevard, planning work. You all mentioned issues around transportation, and traffic, and avoiding negative impacts. So there's some progress that's being made on that with both programs to try to cut down on the commute for people who come to the campus as we grow jobs and add more people. So that those conflicts cut down. Partnering with the city on some of their Mission Zero traffic safety work. There's a lot there that we can talk about more. I probably don't want to use my minute. And that's the new Causeway Connection bus that's going to go from the Sacramento campus where Aggie Square and the Medical Center are to downtown Sacramento and Davis. All electric buses. Mentions social determinants of health and healthy food and cooperative education. There's a lot of activity around that. You may have read about this institute, this edible schoolyard project that we're partnering with, and that's all about working with school districts to try to provide free sustainable school lunches for kids in school districts across the state of California, including Sacramento. We're on the top on the corner in Aggie Square, some new classes that faculty are teaching with students that have community impact. There's one about transformative justice in education. There's one about multilingual education in partnership with the Language Academy School, which is next door. You can see one about health equity, biometrics, so more of that activity. Public space, I mentioned that, and so on. That was a slide about the developer that we selected, just to say that they've done a lot of work in similar big cities with universities across the country, and they bring a lot of experience, not just in attracting business, but I think they're going to be really helpful with examples where they've worked successfully with communities so that they can win through the project as well. So that's what I brought. Sorry to take a little too long. There we go. So, there's an email if you want to send comments that you don't get to hear tonight, and there is an open house on the Sacramento campus. So we're going to talk about Aggie Square, but also all the planning activities across the whole campus. We do those every quarter, and we'll make sure everybody, Adrian and everybody knows about the next one. Thank you. Sorry for a little too long, but look forward to the conversation.
All right, that was the Bob Segar minute. Thanks for that, Bob. Everybody, I'm Michael Blair. Welcome tonight. I'm a board member here, and also a board member on the South Oak Park Community Association. I have the pleasure of introducing our next speaker, and her title is so long, it's on my phone, I have to read it off. That's when you know you're important. You have more than 3 words in your title. You're very important, right? So Kriztina Palone is, you may have known her from Neighborhood Services. She's working for the city, doing a great job there, is now transitioned to a new title. So she is now Workforce Development Manager for the Office of Innovation and Economic Development. So I want you all to welcome Kriztina.
So as Michael said, hello everybody. My name is Kriztina Palone. I used to be the Neighborhood Services Division Manager for the last 4.5 years. The city of Sacramento, should I move to the next one?
All good, all good.
There we go. So over the last budget cycle in 2019, the economic development, that's what Innovation and Economic Development approached council about this new inclusive economic and community development effort or strategy. And with that, there is a workforce development position, which I now sit in, based on the expansion of our economic development department. This all stemmed from the Brookings Institute and the Project Prosper community meetings. How many of you went to any of the Project Prosper community meetings? Oh, wow, okay, great. So the Brookings Institute came out and did a major report about the Sacramento region. And part of that report, as well as our Project Prosper community meetings, we really found that there was a lot of hemorrhaging around our talent, either from our college systems, our career pathways, to other cities, because people were just not staying here and growing and thriving economically. And so the city of Sacramento has, through this new inclusive economic and community development strategy, are really trying to figure out how to stimulate economic growth, again, and vitality in our marginalized and most underserved neighborhoods and communities as a top priority, but for Sacramento as a whole. So after the report, we then went to council, got the additional funding, expansion of staff, which I'll introduce some of my colleagues that are here from my department, and then also our council offices. In the process of the expansion of our department, we also developed this new neighborhood development action team strategy, which some of you may have heard. And it's a cross-section between both the planning department and two divisions of our economic development department. That team is focused on engaging residents, businesses, and nonprofit organizations on specific corridors. Right now, the first effort is going to be on Stockton Boulevard, which some of you may be involved in, as well as Del Paso Boulevard. And it's the NDAC team that is really leading that charge. And my workforce development efforts will intersect with the work that they're doing, and they're just now starting to develop and strategize that plan. So if you want to get connected to the work that they're doing, please let me know afterwards, and I can put you in touch with the points of contact there. In this new, again, inclusive economic and community development strategy, the city hired a consulting firm, RW Ventures, and they are creating a regional strategy called Scale Up Sacramento. And again, the focus is how are we getting our communities and neighborhoods that have not been economically thriving to the point that they can be and will be, but also what are the tradable sectors? What are the industries that Sacramento and the region needs to be focusing on in order to produce revenue streams that are going to come into the city and again help us as a city thrive and grow? So the Scale Up Sacramento report has not been finalized yet. I think it's going to be going to council in the next few weeks, and I can definitely share that with the group once we have the finalized report. In addition to that, we have developed a 25-member advisory committee called Investment Committee. They're subject matter experts that are really helping the city think about how we are allocating dollars to neighborhood and community projects, some of the programs that we've been funding in the past, lots of discussions about return on investments, number of people served, and so that body is really trying to help the city of Sacramento think much more thoroughly about how they're allocating dollars to various projects and programs. I'm the only staff person dedicated to workforce development right now for our city efforts. And prior to taking over neighborhood services, I did 10 years in the mayor's office in San Francisco. 7 of those 10 years I was in workforce development there. And we did a lot of sector-based efforts with these multi-disciplinary partnerships with the community colleges, nonprofits, our CTE pathway with the K-12 system. So a lot of the work that I've done there, I'm trying to replicate here in Sacramento. I'm originally from Sacramento, grew up in Del Paso Heights. I have a huge affinity for the Del Paso Heights community. And when I moved from the Heights to the Bay Area and I came back, I was really shocked to see that how underdeveloped the Heights still was. It was really sad to me, and so a lot of my passion comes from my growing up in the Heights, and as a little girl, seeing Del Paso Heights, Marysville Boulevard in particular, my grandparents taking me on that corridor and thriving, going to some of the small business stores and patroning them and having that relationship with the small business owners. And to see it now, there's a huge disconnect. So a lot of the work that I do for the city is really focusing on how to bring resources and how we're going to align all of the existing programs and services so that we are all unified and working towards a common goal that is going to enhance our marginalized communities. I don't know how many of you heard, our office also launched an online portal. And through this online portal, which just closed January 31st, again, this was the city's way of trying to capture new ideas around projects and programs, again, that can help to stimulate economic growth and vitality in our neighborhoods and communities. We are in the process of going through those applications now. Over 200 applicants submitted. Quite a few of those applications are around workforce development, so I will be working with those applicants as well as you'll see later on the screen that we have a workforce subcommittee of the investment committee, and they're going to also help to review some of those applications. So one of the other areas that the city decided to realign some of its programming, neighborhood services is now merged into and has become the community engagement division. So all of the neighborhood engagement efforts are going to be implemented through the community engagement division, which Lynette Hall, I don't think she's here today, she is the division manager for that unit, and you will definitely hear her name and see her. She's a member of the INDAC, and her team will be very much involved in working with a number of the neighborhood leaders and community organizations. We also hired a new housing manager, if Danielle Foster can stand up for us. And Danielle has been working on a number of our new housing policies and efforts, and also part of the team that I'm working with. So we're trying to again have a comprehensive strategy where we're all working together to address some of these really hard systemic challenges. Also, I want to introduce our Chief Innovation Officer, Louis Stewart. Could you raise your hand? He is our point of contact for the Aggie Square project in the city, and he and I have worked extensively around a number of the emerging trends and jobs that are coming to Sacramento. A lot of the work that Louis does really helps to shape the direction of workforce development in terms of the higher skilled jobs, the education levels that are needed, really trying to understand, particularly on the technology and ICT side, where we, in terms of that trajectory, where we need to get people skilled up in order to get those higher wage jobs. As I mentioned, we have 2 advisory bodies, and one of the advisory bodies is now the Mayor's Workforce Collective, which UC Davis and the Aggie Square team are members of. That collective started out with 25 and is now 75 representatives from academia, from K-12, from a number of our other workforce providers. And the focus for that body is really around how are we going to coordinate and align and build off of each other's program, understand what everybody's doing. I think Sacramento has phenomenal resources around training and programming, but it's not connected. It's very fragmented, it's very siloed. And so this collective that the mayor, Councilmember Schenirer, and Councilmember Guerra organized, trying to get us all to work together in order to prepare our workforce for all of these new opportunities, whether it be Aggie Square, the California Mobility Center, the rail yards development. We understand that there is because of the major disconnect, a number of our residents and constituents are not getting connected to those resources for employment. And that's a really big problem. And so this collective was created to get all of, again, the high-level partners and institutions to come together and figure out how we're going to strategize working together. The second body, again, is that workforce subcommittee, which I'm the staff to. It's 18 members, and it's very industry-focused. Many of the representatives either are connected to their hiring departments for their institutions, or they're doing workforce development for their institutions, and so they're really helping us understand where the jobs are currently and what needs do employers have that we need to be skilling up for. I know it's really tiny, and I will share the PowerPoint with Adrian and team. So I wanted to highlight the Mayor's Workforce Collective. Again, it's a multidisciplinary effort. Over the last 6 months, it was a call to action, essentially, again, from the mayor and Councilmember Schenirer and Councilmember Guerra. Originally, it started with the Aggie Square and all the construction projects. So you'll see a heavy focus on construction because the labor shortage is pretty intense in that particular industry. So from that call to action, we have developed a draft plan, which is still under review and hasn't quite been finalized. In that draft plan, we're trying to create a coordinated and unified and aligned workforce ecosystem for Sacramento. There are a number of organizations that have been implementing workforce development in Sacramento, but haven't necessarily been partnering or aligned or connected to each other. And so because of that, there are a number of residents that just don't know where to go once they complete a program, or what other resources are available to them after they complete a program to help them progress in their careers. And that's a big problem that we need to, as a city, are trying to address. The focus areas in terms of industries that we have decided to start with: construction, healthcare, ICT and tech, as well as government and public sector. In the Brookings report, it was clear that there were some areas that, again, were very disjointed, and yet there could be some major progress done if we just had better alignment. And given our business landscape for the area, these were the 4 particular industries that we wanted to focus on because of the jobs that are coming in these areas. We know that Sacramento is a government town, but there's so much more to Sacramento than just government. And we haven't been tapping into those other employers and those other industries. And there may be some nuances in those industries as we begin to build this out. But for now, those are the 4 that we need to focus on because of the amount of jobs that are emerging right now in those industries. Also, again, because of some of our analysis and research regarding the existing programs, as well as our residents who are not connected to employment services or programs, we realized as a collective that there is a dire, dire need for our disconnected families and youth, particularly the ones who have not necessarily been served fully through our K-12 system, or have not done necessarily, or don't know necessarily about other career programming that they could be leveraging once they maybe complete K-12, or they go through continuation, or they may go to community college. And so we're really trying to develop a holistic and comprehensive workforce system, which includes trying to standardize job coaching and life skills, so that everybody across the board is receiving the same information. Some of the biggest concerns that we've heard from residents that have been utilizing our current workforce programs is that depending on which organization they go to, depending on which agency they go to, they get a different experience, they get a different training. And so we're really trying to, again, standardize a lot of our service delivery so that we are skilling up everybody at a very high caliber. Also, we've been touring some of the existing CTE pathways. Right now we're focused on the construction, career technical education pathways. We're getting ready to tour Luther Burbank, and we will be touring at some point. John F. Kennedy has a manufacturing robotics program. We're also going to be looking at Rosemont High School. They have a very extensive construction program. But again, a lot of us touring these career pathways is to understand what exists, and again, how do we align it to what we're trying to build in this larger workforce system to really, again, support the demand side of an Aggie Square, of the California Mobility Center, of the rail yards development.
Kriztina,
Yes.
can you do 2 more minutes? Is that a possibility?
Yes.
Okay.
So we just go to this next one real quick. So and I was really tiny, sorry. In our collective, we talked about targeting 3 zip codes, which this area is one of those 3 zip codes. Particularly around understanding, doing an assessment of where residents are in terms of their skill set, and then trying to understand what we need to do to get them trained and developed so that they are then job ready for all the different opportunities that are coming online. There's a lot of conversation. There's nothing finite right now. We're still in planning phase. One of the conversations that we recently had was SETA has a mobile unit, and right now their mobile unit goes to George Sim Community Center. And so what we've talked about is maybe having a mobile unit doing assessments of residents that are either underemployed, undereducated, underskilled, and that want employment services or opportunities, and rotating it through these 3 zip code areas. Again, we're trying to ensure that local residents are going to be skilled and receive the support that they need to be ready for the jobs that either are coming or the jobs that exist today. And then the last slide that I will, so this is a very rough draft 5-year overview. Again, I will share this PowerPoint with Adrian and team. So I know it's really tiny, but we're really starting to realize that the city of Sacramento is, because we've been so disjointed for so long, and this is the first time we've ever invested in a true workforce development effort and initiative, in this way at least, we have a lot of ground that we have to catch up. And other cities, other municipalities are much further along and ahead because around the connection, around the coordination and alignment. And so we're really trying to play catch up a little bit, as well as understand what our current landscape is and where the gaps are and how we can, again, get those resources deployed effectively and efficiently. We know that a number of our organizations, both the agencies that are overseeing or funding workforce development or our nonprofit providers, they need support in a much bigger way. And we're only going to be successful if everybody is operating at a high level, because it's a really big problem. Even though unemployment as a whole in our region is low. If you do a deeper dive into the neighborhoods and communities and you peel back some of the layers, you'll see there's a really high unemployment rate in the Del Paso Heights community, in parts of the Meadowview community, in parts of Southwood Park, parts of Mac Road. And we're really trying to understand how to change that dynamic. We want to make social impact in a much bigger way. We want to see people moving out of poverty. We want to see people being able to pay for things without it being a burden on them and their families. We understand that economic growth and vitality needs to be a standard and a norm for everybody in every neighborhood and community in Sacramento, not just some. And so this strategy, although very tiny, you can't see it all, it's really geared towards how are we trying to, again, move people into economic mobility. How are we helping give them the tools to advance and to continue to advance? This is about long-term career development, not temporary jobs that are only going to last 3 to 6 months and then you have to find another job, or trying to juggle multiple jobs just to survive. We as a city definitely recognize that this is a big issue, and it's time for us to really finally put some effort into making this, addressing this issue. So, any questions or comments?
We'll do that later.
Okay.
Thank you. You guys all have each received some sort of slip of paper. If you have not, feel free to jot down questions on whatever paper you do have. It might be an agenda or whatever. But right now, we're going to open it up and bring our panel up. Thanks, Jay, for hitting the lights. But basically what's going to happen is Bob Segar, our 2 council members, and then Gab, you're going to come up here and you'll be able to direct questions their way. If you'd like to direct a question to Kriztina, I don't think she's against answering it. She'd love to. So that's kind of how things are going to go. So think about questions as they're sort of introducing themselves that seem relevant or seem like we need to ask, or they might not have been addressed in these presentations. So come on up, guys. Give them a round of applause as they come on up.
Probably get about a good minute for each response, and we have to move on to the next question. For those questions that we can't get to, because there's going to be some of those tonight, we have a system, we'll explain a little bit later how we'll get that together for you next week.
Okay. Thank you so much.
All right, so Bob has already, I think, done a thorough job of introducing himself. Maybe we could go next in line to Gabby. So would you like to talk about, very briefly, talk about Sacramento investment displacement and what it means and what you're doing? Think about questions.
Good evening. I just want to say thank you so much for having me here. And Investment Without Displacement is a collective group of folks that have been doing work through the Building Healthy Communities. Part of what we wanted to do is do just that, investing in our communities without actually displacing our families. And so when we looked and found out about IG Square, we realized that this project has a lot of potential. It's done with community, and community are at the center of thinking and talking to UC Davis and the city to ensure that we are able to share some of the concerns and some of the things we want to address. And so we've been meeting for the past 9 months and really started doing a lot of listening, what Bob mentioned earlier, talking to residents, talking to community organizations to see how do we get a community benefits agreement, which is like an action agreement for both the UC Davis side and the city that includes community with the ask of community. And so I don't know that I brought enough documents, but this is a draft document of what we have heard from engaging folks in the community, and it includes ensuring that jobs go to folks living in the surrounding neighborhoods, so that our families are not having to travel to get some of these jobs to ensure that folks are able to afford to live in their neighborhoods. And so affordable housing being a key component. Every single person we talk to shared concern of housing as an item. And then knowing that we don't have a county hospital, we want to see UC Davis taking more Medi-Cal patients. Currently, they take about 4,000 patients, and even though it's a different part of the UC Davis campus, it is important to us that as we're looking at health and prosperity of all families, that our families have access to the hospital down the street from their homes. And so for us, as the Investment Without Displacement Committee and community, we want to see a community benefits agreement that includes community, because when we looked at other projects like at USC and Los Angeles, communities had a community benefits agreement. And that is what allows community to be truly be part of the process.
Thanks, Gabby. Eric. Councilmember Guerra.
No, Eric's fine, yeah. Eric Guerra, I live on 17th Avenue, District 6 council member, and I'd like to we'll get to the questions, unless you have a speech here. What she said.
Yeah, awesome. So with that being said, Gracie and Aziza have been collecting some questions from you, and they're going to be reading them aloud. I think each one's directed at a panelist, hopefully. So you guys can take it away.
Okay, first question. Besides the portal, how has the city reached into the community? So it might have been for our guest jobs.
So that was for workforce development.
Okay. Besides the portal, so I would say,
Sure, yeah.
oh, go ahead.
Why don't you morph into a panelist here?
Oh,
Come on down. That makes sense. Great.
And Jody, is this for, how has,
Besides the portal, how has the city reached into the community?
and this is a workforce question you're saying specifically, Jody? Okay, so, workforce development, again, this effort is brand new for us, extremely new. And so we've been trying to work with existing partners, SETA in particular, and understanding their existing program, like Mark Sanders Job Center, and also the career technical education pathways at the K-12 system. Outside of that right now, we haven't necessarily done a deep dive in the neighborhood and community because we're still trying to figure out what that's going to look like. But we are working with those existing partners and trying to understand their current programming so that we can either enhance it or restructure it so that it is being effective to what we're hearing from what the community wants and needs.
You want us to add, or we can put in the...
Say that again?
Is there something to add to that?
Feel free to.
So, thank you. This is pretty complicated. This is pretty complicated stuff around the job piece. I mean, the very simple thing is we need jobs, they have jobs. How do we figure out how to do that matchmaking? What we've been doing with Project Prosper, a lot of the outreach where we literally had hundreds and hundreds of Sacramentans come and talk about what they saw the future look like in economic development. With Measure U, trying to put together funds when we figure out exactly what to do. The first thing what we're trying to do at this point, and what Kristina's been working on, is really building a foundation. And what that includes is a couple things. Number one, getting a really good understanding of the types of jobs and the skill sets that will be needed at Aggie Square so that we can make sure that people from our communities are going through our educational system being prepared for those jobs. So that's the second piece, is working with Sac City Unified, working with Los Rios, working with UC Davis and others to try to understand what we need to change within those systems. This is not an overnight thing that all of a sudden we're going to have all these jobs and we're going to have all these folks who are ready for those jobs. It's It's really about workforce development, but workforce readiness over a period of time. So what we're doing right now, and we will do a lot of outreach to communities, but what we have to do is figure out what those needs are so that we can start to work on the systems to prepare our young people so that when they're in those systems, when they're at Sac City Unified and they're at Hiram Johnson in the medical career pathway, or they're at Health Professions High School, or they're in a construction pathway, that those jobs are what we want to funnel into UC Davis as we go forward. So it's a lot of work. This is a long-term thing, but we're in it for the long term. And then what we think too is, as we are doing this work, figuring out where Measure U dollars are needed to support that work.
The only thing to add to that is, regardless of what happens in Aggie Square, there's a commitment from both Jay and I to continue to work on issues that are affecting our adjacent districts. We're in the process of creating this Stockton Boulevard specific plan, and part of that specific effort to look at it is making sure that our staff are engaged in the public process to see how we're going to develop that area. Not separate apart, but making sure we're working together.
The only thing I might offer is that, there's a lot of focus on Aggie Square, and there should be, because it's a new thing, and we talk about bringing more jobs, but it's also leading the universities to just look at, they're already, we'll hopefully add a couple thousand jobs in Aggie Square. There's already 12,000 people working at the UC Davis Sacramento campus at the medical center. So to the degree that it's leading the university to look at information in a new way, just because we're trying to be more community facing in this whole exercise. So we're gathering data on the different jobs, where the openings are, where do people without data privacy, where do people live, who have those jobs, can we get more of those existing jobs recruited in our nearby neighborhoods as well. So it's a different, it's leading to some new activity for the existing enterprise.
Do you look for a second? You want to mention the anchor institution?
Yeah, there's just Jay just mentioned, there's a group of us that, in addition to what we were talking about here, there's another role that the big institutions in the cities play, and the universities and medical centers are those big institutions. We took a trip to Cleveland, Ohio, a lot of big Midwestern cities that were huge manufacturing cities, where those industries picked up the lab over time, and so people looked around and they said, who's not leaving? And who's not leaving, they called it eds and meds. The big educational institutions, the big medical institutions, cultural institutions that became some of the biggest employers in those communities. So in Cleveland, a lot of these institutions have banded together on their mission for education, but also just because they're big purchasers of goods, they're big hirers and employers of people, and how could they change some of their practices for those purchasing of goods and that hiring people was more local focused. And they had some great examples about it, and then we even talked about getting some people from there here to share some of those examples with us in Sacramento.
Season, everybody, before we go to the next question, since we have a pretty good stack of questions, we're going to try the lightning round on this. So we'll just try to get a quick answer, we'll get on to the next one, and we'll try to do a follow-up afterwards.
And I'm finding that there's similar questions that in this room, so. This is similar. So will GPAs and other businesses on campus be required to use vendors or small businesses in the area?
Yeah, I mean, at this time it's not a requirement, but I'd say it's the kind of thing that we're partnering with both the city and the city's workforce effort. So that, and it does take, I mean, I think what we're learning in the process, maybe it's obvious, but it isn't just creating a program with a job, it's creating the access where the access is needed. So I think, I mean, we're hopeful that emerges as really where the investment needs to take place. We can create the program, we can partner with both Rios and other employers, but we need the investment exactly at the place where people need.
Oh, sorry. Number 2, what is the total estimated cost of this project? How much of it is tax dollars? How much is the developer going to make?
Yeah, so there aren't tax dollars in the plan. There are not. So the way the project is being moved forward is it's university land The developer, we can't enrich the developer, we don't want to and can't. So the developer pays the university a lease for the ground, and then they build and own the buildings, and the university will lease the space in the building, and then business partners or community organizations will also lease space in the building. So that's the way it's set up. So it's really private investment that's going to get these buildings built. And part of it, again, will be university. And that's why it's different than anything we've ever done before. Because the typical model would be, the university would seek state funds or some other kind of funds and build an academic building for students, and faculty can do their work, and that would be how we do it. This is a completely different model because it has the goal of leveraging the economic development.
To what extent are community members involved in day-to-day decision-making activities for Aggie Square? Where can we get a list of those involved? In other words, it is not sufficient for community members to just get periodic updates. How do we get seats at the periodic decision-making tables?
So, I mean, the structure that we have set up right now, I mentioned the two kind of representative groups that we meet with regularly. One of them is chaired by the mayor and chancellor, has elected officials and others, and the others, that graphic that I put up there was from our community engagement advisory group. So there are representatives in this room that are our representatives, and all the neighborhood leadership is represented. Kim is there from DHC, I believe, on our community engagement group. Or invited. Right? So anyway, we try to do it that way, and then when people request to go deeper and come out to the neighborhood. So that's the mechanism we have right now, is just trying to get a pretty urban, because there are lots of folks that are there across the
And that's a public forum.
those, I don't think those are, no, those are not public forums, so that's a good, yeah. We do have these open houses as well every quarter, as well as coming out to neighborhoods when we can. So we've got a lot of different ways to do that.
We would like to have a member or members of the community have a place at the table to review and have input on request for proposals and things related to any potential developments in Aggie Square, including, but not limited to types of businesses, structures, and functions of businesses, which will be tenants, partners in Aggie Square. Is UC Davis willing to do this?
So that's a very similar question. Again, I mean, I think, we're using the representative groups for the direct input. I would say, the goal of Aggie Square, and it's emerging, it's new, is to find those partnerships that connect across the university, across business investment, and across road event. And so we are open to any suggestions that people have for who they think would be a good entity to show up in Aggie Square, who should be there, what kind of value could different entities bring. So hopefully people feel free to reach out in any possible way to communicate that.
How will UC Davis address displacement caused by increased housing costs associated with the Aggie Square project in Wilmington?
Well, I'm going to ask Jane Harris to lead that.
We were just going to leave.
And I mean, the city is taking steps to chart a path to that, and the university is paying attention. So, but I'd like that to kind of lead with some of that.
So this last council meeting, the last week's council meeting, we voted on a framework of trying to get out $100 million, of which the majority of it will be to address the issue of families who are low income and how do we build housing. That's for the city in general. Jay and I are committed to making a significant amount of that investment and focusing it on our corridor here in our community here. We, overall in the city, we have a high need for housing, but if there are mutual benefits that we can get by getting the Stockton Boulevard specific plan, focusing some of our housing bonds investments to build housing on the corridor so that we can support those efforts, not only just for those who are in need, so making sure we build affordable housing, but also to look at housing that may be for students or for the graduate students or for the employees at the same time. So we need a mixture of that in there so that we don't affect the existing community. That if, by not doing any of that, then we could encounter a problem. I think someone said in the past, like, the Aggie Square could be the best thing for the neighborhood, could be the worst thing for the neighborhood. And if we don't focus on the construction of addressing our overall housing shortage for the city, we could be in that situation. But at least for us, regardless of what Aggie Square happens, we are committed to addressing the housing challenge.
Yeah, I mean, we put $100 million, hopefully in bond money, resulting from Measure U towards housing. We're building a housing division, and we never had people do housing. We weren't satisfied with what was going on outside the city. We knew we had to step up, and so we created a division, I don't know what you say about it, division, within economic development that's really about housing. I think the council this year, along with homelessness, those will be the issues that we spend more time on than anything else. Eric and I are committed to trying to get, as he said, a significant percentage, maybe 20% of the $100 million, to be really focused on affordable housing in this area. With state match, that's probably $40 million, and that really allows us to turn some on. We're working with folks right now on a couple of properties, one on Donner, one on Broadway, and 39th, and one third one where the old San Juan Hotel was. So we have some pieces going, we need to do a lot more. We know that it's a crisis and we need to do it, and that's going to be the pivot point between this being a successful project for the neighborhood and not.
The last piece on that, Jay being our representative at Segar, not just for Sacramento, but for the 6-county region, are looking at how do we get state dollars for our commercial corridors that are tougher to build. They just are because they were built as highway strips and not designed for housing. So the goal here is to get additional resources from the city.
And one last thing, the site-specific plan, or the area-specific plan that Eric was talking about. We just went out for an RFP. We got some really great response. There will be a significant amount of public input over the next year once that is awarded. Because this is a partnership that we're developing, and I think both UC Davis and the city are figuring out how to be partners on this and what each of us can do well. I think the housing piece is mostly our responsibility, but all of what we're doing, Vision Zero, putting bus rapid transit on Stockton Boulevard, there's many initiatives that we're trying to bring together to really recreate Stockton Boulevard, going from the Med Center all the way down to Cooper.
Yeah, last thing, and not to forget, we have, we have at the very end of Stockton Boulevard, not the very end, but is Little Saigon very vibrant. We need to link those two pieces together. We got to get that commercial strength from the south end linked with also utility.
All right, we're going to focus on, go ahead.
I put it in it really quickly. We're also trying to look at Charles A. Jones, which is an adult ed career center, and what programming can go there around workforce development. There is a partnership with SBMI and their manufacturing apprenticeship program. So on the workforce side, we're really trying to look at what kind of programming can be embedded in the neighborhood that folks that are trying to either skill up or get connected. There's a job center at Charles A. Jones, one-stop job center. So connecting them to those employment resources can help them maintain their housing.
And I would just say that while obviously we're not a housing piece, just so that we have to say is that really there has been studies showing that UC Davis project will have an impact on housing in the community. And while I think it's great that the city is looking at how they're going to address it, there is a huge opportunity if you guys are building these housing units on your campus, and so that you could set aside a portion for affordable housing or pay into the trust fund. I just think it's a way, I think that we can be creative to make sure that there's a part that is UC Davis, and then there's a part that the city owns too, because it will have an impact on the housing.
All right, so we have a stack of questions to get to, so we're going to do the next one.
All right, number 3, Councilmember Schenirer. What are your plans to ensure bike and pedestrian safety alongside Stockton and Broadway, as well as ensure low emissions?
So it's a great question. Both
Let's try to
Eric
project a
Eric
little
and I
if possible.
The question is basically around global warming and bike and ped safety on Stockton Boulevard. And we know that Stockton has 2 of the 5 most dangerous intersections in the city of Sacramento. Actually, the council's been talking about the intersections, which we probably have, I'm guessing, $40 million worth of work to do on creating safer intersections around the city. It's not just Stockton Boulevard that's the problem. But what we are doing around Vision Zero and moving forward is really thinking through a complete streets program. So what does it look like to have buffer bike zones, to have, 2 lanes, 1 lane on each side and a left turn lane? We're working, as Eric said, with SACOG around how do you bring back these corridors, because they are unsafe as we look at them now. So that work is going on. Stockton Boulevard, again, has a number of initiatives, and we're looking at a complete streets initiative with Stockton Boulevard to redo the boulevard so that it will have buffer bike zones or bike lanes so that it can be safer, and to bring rapid transit or bus rapid transit on it so that we can limit both congestion and emissions. So that work is progressing as we speak.
The only thing to add to that is that from our last council meeting, when we talked about the budget, we are looking at having a specific budget and audit meeting to talk about what is it going to cost to address some of our traffic safety, not just talking but overall.
How will traffic and parking be addressed during the construction and after completion? The 2005 traffic count shows that 1,390 cars in a 24-hour period along 4th Avenue. Can current parking be issued to residents close to?
So the first part, the project, the Egg Square project that I showed, lands on parking lots. So that makes the problem worse. So there's already planning for a replacement parking structure closer to the hospital, which is where most of the people work who are parking down that area anyway. So that would make the site available for construction. And then as a part of the Egg Square project, we'll have to, because again, it's all surface parking lots right now, we'll have to be a parking structure as a part of the Egg Square project for the new trips that'll come. There's also a lot of investment, and it's a plan that's underway. Transportation demand management, that's just a way of saying, it's in everybody's interest if the university can invest in programs that keep people from having to drive to the campus for a destination instead of building another parking structure space and making the traffic worse. So there's a lot of planning going on right now, and maybe at the meeting we'll have some of the active strategies. There's a new commute bus that goes to Elk Grove, and as that gains popularity, there'll be 40 people who can get there in a bus instead of 40 people driving on the car. There's a lot of efforts, like there's a new bus back and forth to Davis. So it isn't, we have to build enough replacement parking to make sure we don't make the existing problem worse, but there's a lot more, it's much better to invest in alternative ways of people getting there than just parking to get out of it. So that's tricky because sometimes it can be wishful and the problem still comes. So it's a combination of both.
Okay, next question is for Congressmember Schenirer.
Okay, so the question here is, why would you close our only grocery store? We know you didn't. But in closing our only neighborhood store for the last 20 years, what advantage is going to be for our Black community and who's speaking for our homeless population? I'm going to listen all to all.
So there are a lot of questions.
The question is grocery stores. We got Aggie there.
So the grocery store is privately owned. Rayleigh's decided to have 11 food sources. They decided to sell 10 of them. They don't want to be in that business anymore. That's really their decision. It's a private business. Both Congressman Guerra and myself are out there kind of knocking on doors. We have 2 grocery stores right now that are interested in the site. We We met last week with the owner of the site to offer any assistance that we can. So we're out there, we're going to do everything we can. We know that this is, we'll be back to a food desert if we don't do that. It's a priority for us. Grocery stores it's a tough business. It's, you know, a 1% clearance after they do all of their work, and they're, you know, we'll do our best to attract something that this community wants. We're looking for help on that as well. So anybody wants to send letters to Winco or Viva, say we love you in our neighborhood, please go ahead and do it, because that could help. So, you know, it's a problem. We can't, I didn't close the store, I wouldn't close the store, I was surprised with everybody else when they told us. It's not a good thing for the neighborhood, but we're going to do everything we can to get replacement grocery store.
On the positive side, I mean, we've been working with our folks and smart finally to make sure that they get a place that was vacant. And then we're always in contact with Ray's to make sure that the Bel Air on Fruit Ridge is doing well.
Is there another question to that question?
It's probably going to come back to it, but I think one of the largest community concerns is what are we going to do with our homeless population surrounding Aggie Square?
So, the question, everybody didn't hear, but what are we going to do with our homeless challenges around Aggie Square, homeless population? It's not an Aggie Square problem, it's a citywide problem, it's a countywide problem, it's a statewide problem. I think the city is being very proactive about it. Also, like housing, it's not something that the city has traditionally done. We don't have funding streams for it. We've put at least $27 million in the last 12 months towards building new shelters. We have a shelter in process being built in Meadowview. We have the shelter along the WX corridor. That will focus on this area, so hopefully that will have 100 beds. As we speak, the schedule still shows it to be built by May. We're working this right under the freeway, WX and Alhambra. So my hope is that will do it. We also have opened 2 other shelters, wind use services in this area, and also
there's also, and then last year we put in $1 million specifically for women and family shelters, $275,000 that'll go to the City of Refuge that services Stockton and Broadway, and then also $725 that'll go to St. John's Women's Shelter that is also services this side of our city too. And I think that level of expansion, while those programs are specific for women and children, we're looking at the overall picture for the city.
And we continue to work on it, which we will. As I said, homelessness and housing are the 2 main issues that the City Council will be working on this year, and then workforce development jobs.
Are there any plans for preserving or restoring the historic Governor's Hall?
Historic what?
Governor's Hall.
Yeah, so the question is about Governor's Hall, and it's one of the 2 original buildings from the State Fair that are still on the university campus. One of them is that building right across from the grocery store, and the other one is Governor's Hall. Governor's Hall is all closed and boarded up because it's got earthquake problems and everything. But it was the old assembly hall for the State Fair. So if you Google Governor's Hall, you get all these rock concert posters and stuff from the 60s when Bob Segar probably played there, yeah. So anyway, we're doing, we're actually doing a study with the group in Sacramento and the Mondavi Center in Davis to see if it's possible to restore it for use as a performance space and a conference and a meeting space, both for the Sacramento campus and for the community. And we're sort of trying to find out if it could kind of break even with that kind of use. Then we're going to go try to raise money to actually restore the building. If it can't break even with that kind of use, then it's a bigger challenge. But we're making a run at it. It would be a pretty amazing asset for this part of Sacramento if we could pull it off.
I'm thinking this question might be for Ms. Trejo. and the rest of you, but maybe her first. What is your plan for engaging residents who do not have smartphones, who do not have internet? The assumption that people should just go to the library is disenfranchised. Do we have ways of connecting people who aren't electronically connected?
Yeah, I'm not sure what we're referring to in terms of the library, but, so.
That people go use the internet at the library.
Oh,
And there is no library in the park.
right, yeah. So one of the ways that we have been doing community engagement is through the partners that are part of the National Without Displacement. We actually have been doing some canvassing. Last Saturday, we canvassed the area to, if you find that flyer on your door, find us. And also through some of the, like I said, some of the partners that we're working at PhD. So all of our engagement has been face-to-face with residents.
Well, can I add something really quickly? I think this is a community responsibility, it's a joint responsibility to do outreach. We will do more things like this. UC Davis has done lots of town halls. We'll continue to be here. We can never reach everyone, but it's up to all of us in this room to reach out to your neighbors and make sure that they're connected as well.
So this is my final question here. As a career technical education teacher,
Natural
in South Sacramento, we say Berkeley High School, what opportunities will exist for my students interested in food, ag tech, and innovation in the Aggie Square project? How can I, as a teacher, get involved to ensure their opportunities come to fruition?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, Louis might need to help me with this conversation, just because he has been working in the ag tech space more so than I have been. But I do think, and Ty, I know that you and I have been in conversation, I think that what we're trying to do with this larger workforce collective effort is going to definitely bring in the work that you've been doing and trying to understand. I know that when I met with the CTE instructors, understanding what internship opportunities are available to your students post, like your senior year and then post graduation. And I don't know, Louis, if you want to chime in at this point, because I'm handling more so on the internship side of things. I think Louis is more so handling with Aggie Square directly, the teacher jobs that are coming.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Louis Stewart, Chief Innovation Officer for the City of Sac. A lot of the stuff that we've been talking about as part of the city's innovation ecosystem is really the food system. So food security, food literacy, food safety, which is a big problem for all communities. And we've been working and having these real big, deep conversations with one of the, if not the #1 ag school in the country, and that's UC Davis. So Aggie Square, there's a big piece of it that actually involves food. Fantastic Chef Santana here is looking at food science and what we can actually do to make food as prescriptions and help people live better lives. We're absolutely trying to figure out how we tie it into to school-age kids so that they get an opportunity to be on the campus, but then also have chefs from around the city start getting engaged and start teaching the students and being part of the community. So, Sacramento is becoming one of those towns that's known for its food, and it has a very, very engaged chef community. And, I think with the Alice Water Institute for
Edible education.
Yes, edible education at UC Davis Aggie Square, thank you. That'll be an additional draw to actually bring in more experts to then help the community eat better, live longer, and hopefully get jobs in the industry.
While we focus on improving employment opportunities for Sacramento, why was the main developer outsourced?
So, the construction jobs will be local, which is where most of the jobs are. The developer, the group that we selected for developers was because this is actually, a lot of developers can develop new buildings, but we found a group that this is actually what they do. They work in cities across the country, that are similar in some ways to Sacramento. There's a lot of times, like when I think of life sciences buildings, and a lot of that kind of industry where a lot of new jobs are, they're in San Francisco Bay Area, they're in Boston, they're in San Diego, they're in these big centers. There are a lot of those kinds of jobs in Sacramento right now. If we want to grow those jobs by leveraging the work of the university, we need somebody who's done that kind of work. And they've worked with universities and medical centers around the country, not just in those big markets that everybody's really clamoring to be in, like Boston and San Francisco, but in markets like St. Louis and Providence, Rhode Island, and Phoenix, that are emerging and leveraging their universities. And so we found a group that actually knows how to work with the university to create new business development and jobs. That's what they do. They do more than just build buildings and develop land. So we're super excited to have on board. And one of the things they're bringing, we talked about Lewis creating a new opportunity for small businesses and startups in Sacramento. These guys are bringing a significant investment on their own of innovation space and incubation space and startup space in both life sciences labs, which is very expensive, and tech space, so that new companies can start in Sacramento at Aggie Square that don't have any real way to do that right now. So they bring a lot to the table.
Well, one thing we've shared with the university is to look at what the city did with their community workforce and training agreement, which requires that say for the Golden One and our convention center, Memorial Auditorium, that the recruitment for the apprenticeship programs and the training and the hiring come from the neighborhood. And what at least from what we hope that will occur here with UC Davis is that they'll target the zip codes that are affected in that target area that Kriztina put up earlier. But there's a model already there, shared with the university, and we hope their new selection of their contractor learns from our experience.
All right.
It's going to be the final question.
Should I just shuffle them?
And then, it should be as easy as you can.
She doesn't have any work.
Oh, I kind of want to emphasize and make sure that there was like 4 addressing parking spaces and traffic. So, were you guys, can you discuss that a little bit more? It's specifically asking like how many parking spaces will we ultimately have in phase 1? How many parking spaces? Is it 4 of the same?
We're still, two parts to answer. First would be the replacement parking. So we're going to replace more than the parking that we displaced before Aggie Square gets built. So we'll have replacement parking in place to make Aggie Square happen. We're still sizing the size of those buildings and the numbers of parking spaces, so that is still yet to turn forward. That's sort of yet to be done. We have that coverage, so it's part of the project.
All right, last question. How could a community benefits agreement address and ensure housing commitments are fulfilled?
Yeah, so I think in our research we found when there's a community benefits agreement, right, it's an agreement from the different parties that are in place. In this case, it would be city, UC Davis, and community, right, like you all as community members. In 10 years from now, when Councilmember Jay and Eric win the lotto, and they're not here, right? Whoever is in that seat, we are still able to hold them accountable to say either UC Davis or city, these commitments were not fulfilled. And like I said, that is what's key about being able to look at specific numbers and say, we want to include community as part of the process, not just in listening, but actually in the signing of the document. And that is what is really important about a community benefits agreement. It's more than just an intention of doing something. It's saying in writing, here's our commitment as the different parties.
So thank you for that answer. We're gonna, so for questions, anything that was not answered is going to be put on a spreadsheet, and we will ensure that those get answered by whoever is directed panelist. And then we'll get those answers. It might take a few weeks, just the process, but then we'll make that available when we can. If you guys are able to do a 30-second final comment, just regarding what you think next steps are for community members, I think that would be really helpful. And then we're going to break for.
I'm going to take 30 seconds. The bottom line on this is, if either of us don't do a good job, whether it's the city or DC, we'll both fail. Because no one will want to come work here if we don't really do what we need to do to support the community. So we're kind of mutually dependent on one another here. And I think what you see has done is shown the willingness to partner. I think we're both learning as we go. We'll continue to do this, to have conversations with the community and with the community about this. But this is not an overnight thing, just so people have some patience with this, but we want to be as responsive as we can.
And lastly, I think something that Jay said earlier, for me, was that it's upon not just us over here, but the community too. I always joke that, our family, that the Mexican cheese was faster than the internet. The more that we communicate with each other, waiting around and waiting, the better we can get that information out. So for us, we can't do our job as elected officials. If we're not hearing and getting more feedback, we can assume, but we prefer that you guys also get that information.
And really quickly, I want to thank all of your staff,
Yes.
and my staff, and your staff who are here tonight. You all raise your hands.
Chancellor, there,
Can I just say, in the one video we said that I passed out, there's just on the bottom, feel free to join the investment with us. We are supportive of, I think each of this could be, the Aggie project could be successful for the community, and we want to make sure that we are hearing from you all and that we are bringing your voices to the people. And so it's very engaged, and we want to congratulate you all for giving us your Thursday evening to spend with us.
So, thank you, we've got a bunch of these today, was folks here too, to want to say hi. So again, I just offer my thanks to you all for being here. I feel like it's a real privilege to be able to work in Sacramento on a project like this, and I feel like there are a lot of people who want us to succeed, and I appreciate that the people want us to be a part of that success. And so as Jason and Eric said, and Gabby, we're learning as we go, and we're have the same aspirations. So please keep reaching out, and we will do the same. Good ideas come from everywhere. So our next meeting, we'll make sure you know about them, and we'll be back. Thank you.
The last thing I will just add is that I know that this has been kind of a long and sometimes bumpy journey. We have really smart people that are trying to figure out, particularly on the workforce side, all of the systemic, long-standing challenges that have prevented some of our communities from getting access to good-paying jobs. And so we are really dedicated, and we're trying to think thoughtfully around how we are building a system, and it's going to take us time, but I personally desperately want the community involved. I'm very community-minded at my core because of my own upbringing. And so, Jody, back to your earlier question, we will definitely be engaging the community. We just need to work out some of the kinks, because some of this systemic disruption has been really, really nasty. Some of our systems have been operating in a dysfunctional way for a very long time in the city. And so we are really trying to address that so that our communities are getting the resources and services they need so that they can, again, economically grow and thrive. So just as the council member said, bear with us. We are trying to build something thoughtfully. It's just going to take us some time to make that happen, and we will be having town hall meetings probably in a few months to talk about some of these workforce areas. We just are trying to get some things finalized first. So thank you for your patience.
In your presentation, there are additional copies here, 35.
Thank you.